Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. This is Sunny, and I talk about life transformations with the power of unconditional self. There comes a point in our lives when we begin to see that the way we think about ourselves is shaping everything. The way we speak to ourselves, the way we carry our wounds, the way we respond to love, fear, or any kind of changes in our lives. All of it grows from the story we believe about who we really are. But beneath all those noises, beneath the labels, beneath the pain, there is a deeper truth. We are not small. We are not broken. We are not separate from wholeness. This is our journey back to that truth, back to that form of wholeness, wherein there is no fear, no challenges, no nothing. It's just pure acceptance. And that journey of remembering that our real self is not built on fear, but on spirit. And when we start realizing that self-concept is rooted in spiritual wholeness, life begins to feel less like a battle and more like a return. The story you've been telling yourself, is it true? What if the story you believed about yourself for years is actually a lie? Many stories come from those old pain, those limited belief systems that I'm not enough. I have to prove my worth. I have to prove myself. Love must be earned. These feel true because you have repeated them so long. But spiritually, your soul tells a different story, that I am whole, I'm held, I'm enough as I am. So there is a self-reflection that we can do by taking a pause. What single story keeps playing in your mind? Now imagine hearing your soul's version instead. Which feels more like home to you? You got to recognize that. The pain that we have been experiencing since our childhood, that actually shapes our identity. Because many people do not realize how deeply pain shapes the way they see themselves. For example, a hurtful comment can stay for years, right? A rejection or disrespect is something that we never forget about. A childhood wound can become a lifelong lens. You may begin to see yourself through the eyes of what hurt you. That is how the spirit gets covered by layers of fear, layers of limited belief systems, layers of those traumas. But pain is not your name. It is not your identity. It is something you experience, not something you are. When you see that clearly, healing begins to happen. And then slowly you get into the process of knowing yourself, knowing your worth. In actuality, your spirit was never broken. Can you feel it? If your deepest self was never damaged, why do you keep punishing it? The answer is spiritually, wholeness exists beneath every wound. Pain shaped our personality, but never touched our essence, okay? And your soul remains perfect, patient, waiting for you to remember. That's why we keep going through those kind of cycles again and again, and we name that as suffering. And that suffering comes from believing the wound defines you, not from the wound itself. So again, a self-reflection. Close your eyes. Feel beneath the hurt, any hurt that you've gone through in your past. What quiet, steady present waits there? You got to understand that. That's your true self calling. There are some things that our soul is always intuitively saying to us, telling us to do, but we disregard that. Why? Because we are always looking outwards and we forget about what our intuition is saying to us. So we got to listen to that intuition in order to follow the right path in our lives, to understand who we really are. So that's where you start that journey of returning to what is already true. We go through so much of suffering, and those suffering comes from trying to become something we already are. Trying to become lovable, trying to become enough, trying to become worthy, trying to achieve something, trying to compare ourselves. But spiritually, these things are already ours, right? The work here is not creation. The work is remembrance, okay? And once you fall back to your real self, you start building your worth from nothing. If you think that everything is meant for you will come to you, then you do not control the situations. You just trust the universe, the God, the divine, the creator, and you keep walking and keep working on the growth of your soul. Spiritually, these things, again, are meant for you, and God, the divine, the creator, wants to give you everything. The work is not creation, the work is remembrance, okay? And you're not building worth from nothing. And when that waiting happens, right, your spirit starts talking to you or speaks to you in softness. The voice of spirit is rarely harsh. It does not scream shame into your chest. It does not demand that you prove your worth every day. It speaks more softly than fear, but more truthfully to you. It may sound like peace. It may sound like stillness. It may sound like quiet knowing that says you are held, or you do not need to strive so hard, or you're already enough to be loved. And when you start doing that, your self-concept begins to listen to that voice. Everything softens after that. Everything just goes with the flow. Wholeness does not mean that you have to be perfect. Wholeness includes your wounds. Spiritually, wholeness does not mean pretending you have never been hurt. It means holding your wounds with compassion instead of shame. It means seeing that your pain does not cancel your sacredness. You can be tender and whole at the same time. You can be healing and worthy at the same time. You can be unfinished and deeply loved at the same time. This is a quieter kind of strength, one that does not need perfection to feel peaceful. So speak to yourself as a soul, not a flaw. The way you speak to yourself matters deeply. If you speak to yourself as a problem, you will keep feeling broken, and spiritually, you will keep attracting problems in your life. If you speak to yourself as a soul in process, something opens, something changes, and then there's a shift that you can feel. Try speaking from reverence. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm more than what I fear. I'm enough for myself. My spirit is still here. I'm not lost beyond return. These words do not deny the struggle. They simply place the struggle inside a larger truth. So for me, if I talk about my desires in a country like this, in Ireland, wherein I do not have any friends, I still desire a family, right? I still desire my marriage, right? So that I could have a family. And all the situations are completely against me. So I do not have to stress myself for that matter. It doesn't matter whether my body clock is ticking. Doesn't matter, whatever things are happening around the world. Doesn't matter. All the situations are completely against it. But I completely believe in one and only one thing. I am meant for that family, and that family is my higher calling. And that's what I'm going to go for spiritually. And that's how I'm transforming myself, by feeling that wholeness, by feeling that happiness within me, so that I could feel as if that family is already there with me. Doesn't matter whether that happens in future or not, and then surrender. Your life then starts reflecting your inner alignment, okay? And when your self-concept is rooted in spiritual wholeness, your outer life begins to shift. You stop choosing from desperation. You stop begging for what should be given freely. You stop shrinking to fit what does not honor you. Instead, you move with more clarity. You trust more deeply. You stand more firmly in who you are. That is what inner alignment looks like. Not perfection, not control, but a quiet trust. And then you feel coming home to yourself. Because the spiritual journey is often a journey home. Home to your heart, home to your spirit, home to that wholeness, home to that part of you that was never truly lost. Because when we were born as a complete soul. However, just because of those traumas and limited belief systems, we created those layers of shame, regret, blame, pain, control, all those kind of low vibrations that kept us away from what we really deserve in our lives. You may spend years searching for peace in other places, but eventually you begin to understand that peace was always calling you inward. And when you return to yourself with gentleness, you realize that wholeness was never absent. It was the only waiting to be remembered. So, just before I close, a self concept rooted in spiritual wholeness changes the way you live. It reminds you that you're not a mistake to be fixed. You are a soul to be honored. You are not a lack to be filled. You are a presence to be remembered. The more you see yourself through the eyes of spirit, the less power fear has over your identity. And the more you return to truth, the more peaceful your life becomes. So that is why self-introspection is so much important. Asking yourself questions with a lot of courage in order to improve yourself, grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally. So wholeness is again not about perfection. Wholeness is all about unconditional self-love with no hatredness within you for yourself, no judgment within you for yourself and not for anyone else around you. You keep growing, you keep accepting the situation the way they are, and you keep letting go the situations that are not meant for you and that is causing you a lot of suffering. I hope this video helps you in understanding what wholeness means, which is aka unconditional self-love or kingdom of heaven as we say in Christianity. So please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram and TikTok handles. The links are there in the description column as I keep bringing a lot of content in relation to unconditional self-love. In case if you're already going through that transformation in your life, please comment unconditional self-love in the comment section and I'll be glad to interact with you guys. Thank you very much for watching me today. And always remember, what you are is what you're going to get. This is Sunny, signing off. Take care.